I guess you have to do that because you're the host.
So, okay. So this will be recorded in YouTube channel. So
YouTube channel. Okay.
Record it. So once done, it will be live in YouTube and it.
Recording. I guess you have to do that because you're the host.
So, okay. So this will be recorded in YouTube channel. So
YouTube channel. Okay.
So once it's done, it will be live in YouTube and it.
Recording. I guess you have to do that because you're the host. What is happening? Wait, am I going to watch myself on YouTube here? Whoa. Okay, so tell me when I should start. Is it now?
I think let's take another 5 minutes and you can start.
Okay. When I click on the YouTube link, I actually don't see my face. When I click on the YouTube link, I don't see my face. Oh, I do see my face. Never mind. Okay. Wow, my face is big. Okay. So the first 5 minutes is just going to be
we have not attended.
Just me. Oh, gosh, I can wait here. Maybe I should like have a screen instead of my face. Let me see. Okay, Div, I'll just wait here until you tell me to start. I mean, I guess this is like recorded anyway, so there's no reason for me to wait too long, right? Wait, did the thing stop? Ooh, 2 attendees. Okay, so we'll just start in 1 minute anyway. Do people see? Okay. Hey, do people see both my screen and my face? Okay, so I think we're ready to start. Dick, if you don't want me to start, say something in the next 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so thank you everyone for coming to webinar number 2. I call it Fake It and Make It with Firebase. And you'll see why in just a second. Okay, so a bit about myself. You can see my face on camera. I can't see any of you, but hopefully you're there. So my name is Charles. Here's a cartoon representation of what I look like. So my background on why I'm giving this presentation is because I learned how to program a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. So today in my job, I don't do a ton of real hardcore engineering, which is both good and bad. But that's really led me to kind of return to the simplicity of programming. So just when we need to get things done around the office, we need to get simple tasks done, I don't have time to really learn new tools or kind of build complex systems that require a lot of maintenance. And that's one thing I really like about Firebase. And that's what I want to show today. It might be a little bit too simple for everyone, but at the same time, I think it's very, very pure. So what are the most common tasks that every business has to do over and over again? I mean, every business has like a few things that must be done. And of course, there are off-the-shelf solutions for everything. But one, they usually cost money. So I'm not a huge fan of spending money, especially on software, when I feel like I have the power to make my own software. But also, it's just not right. So I really don't like spending a lot of time learning a tool when I could have just built it myself. And of course, the last piece is it's boring. It's boring to just use kind of off-the-shelf stuff. So although I don't do a lot of programming today, it is one of my favorite kind of pastimes. And so I really enjoy playing with new technology. So today, what I want to build is the most simple of these use cases, which is a simple form capture. So it'll be fun to build, but more importantly, it's going to be free and easy to maintain. So I think that's what Firebase really brings to you. One, a lot of convenience. Two, some cost effectiveness. But three, like it's built on a robust infrastructure, so you don't have to worry about maintaining servers, or what if something goes down. It'll be around for years and years to come. So the main Firebase technologies we'll look at today. I know a lot of people submitted things about Flutter, about like React Native versus Flutter. I'm sorry that's not the topic of today's talk. Today I just wanted to do the basics about how to get started with Firebase Firestore and Firebase hosting. So actually, the first two things we'll do is we'll set up a database and we'll set up a web page to interact with the database. We'll do some basic front-end stuff. And then we'll come back to like Firebase hooks and cloud functions and how we can build like a robust infrastructure without having to maintain any servers or do any kind of hard DevOps work. Who likes DevOps? No one likes DevOps. If you're familiar with how to use Zoom, so we do have a couple of attendees. If you have questions anytime, feel free to jump in the chat. You can chat. I get like a little box usually. Or you can also press raise hand. There's a raise hand button. I can't tell you exactly where it is because it depends on what platform you're on. But if you have a question, feel free to raise your hand. And I'll also see that and try to slow down. Okay, with that, let's get to kind of the basic steps of what I'm going to walk through. I don't think this is going to take like a very long time to build. But there's basically three steps that we're going to take. One, we'll create a basic front end. So anyone who's a JavaScript web developer might be interested in the technology I'll use. I'll use something called Svelte, which is like the new hipster version. So if you're too cool to use React and even too cool to use Vue.js, there's now an option for you. It's called Svelte. It's actually been around for a few years, but I think last year it started getting very popular. So I assume it's good to learn because it'll be popular for at least another 2 months until something new comes out in JavaScript. But we'll look into that today, and actually it's easy to get started. From there, we'll integrate Firebase very quickly into Svelte, and then the next step is how we kind of work with Firebase directly to make our form more powerful. All right, so the majority of today will be just kind of in code. So I'll be kind of spending most of my time in the web browser and in Visual Studio Code. So we'll get started. I'm raising my hand out of joy. Okay. So the first few steps are, so I think everyone should be able to see my screen here. So let me try to make this big. Okay, so I've used a basic thing. If anyone's used Digit, it's just a simple way to clone a web repo. So I've used something called Svelte boilerplate. I'm not going to go into it, but it's just a repository I cloned. It's a default repository. So all I've done here is I've done npm install and started. If you have more questions about this, you can go to Svelte boilerplate, and you can find it. It's this one, Svelte.js template. So this is a basic Svelte app, nothing special. Let me just show you how it works. So we're here in Svelte app. I'll try to make my screen a little bit bigger. Hopefully that's legible for everyone. It's a little bit for me. All right, so we just have some basic boilerplate here. I'm going to just run quickly npm run dev to get our dev server running. So localhost 5000 will now host our demo. So here we go, hello world. And if you've never used Svelte before, it's a little bit like, well, there's a lot of reasons why it's cool. I don't want to get into it because this is not a talk about Svelte, but we'll have to do a few kind of concepts. The main concept is it's a little bit like Vue in that each component is kind of encapsulates its own file. At the top, we have script. In the middle, we have main, and we have style. So script is where all your JavaScript goes, main is where all your HTML content goes, and style is where all your CSS content goes. The one weird thing about Svelte, and the great thing, well, the great/weird thing, is that it's actually all compile time. So there's not a virtual DOM. It actually tries to use JavaScript to generate code intelligently to be reactive. And one way that they kind of abuse JavaScript a bit is what they do with exports. So here, actually, export let name is a prop that's passed in from main.js. So main.js, we're not going to touch it really, aside from right now. This is how you mount the Svelte into the DOM. So hello Firebase, GDG, attendees. We can pass props via like this binding. And here, when I reload, I see that my app has changed. All right, but my point of today is not to build a Firebase GDG attendees hello greeting site, as cool as that is. What I really want to do is I want to build a simple contact form. So I'm just going to go to Google, and I'm going to just look up a simple contact form. This one looks pretty good. So I can see that many sites would use something like this. So I'll just go ahead and copy and paste this. So one cool thing is that the way that's built up, it's actually a lot like CodePen, right? You have your JavaScript, your JS panel, your HTML panel, and your CSS panel. So here, I'll set up, just copy and paste HTML. I'll paste in format there. Wait, I did that wrong. Sorry, a second. What happened here? Oh, okay, sorry. In here, I think my styles may have got messed up. Oh, I moved my main down. Okay. And now if I go back to my Svelte homepage, I see that. Let's go back to our CSS from Pen. Sorry, let me Alt-tab around. We have our CSS here. I'll just replace the default CSS given to me as template with whatever this CodePen man has made. And boom, we have a nice contact form that's built. Now the point is I want to hook this up to obviously do something. Right now it's not going to do anything. Well, even if I fill in the things, they won't do anything. So how do I connect it to Firebase? Well, first we need to go to firebase.google.com. And we probably need to set up a project. So I've already logged in. I'll go to my console. And I'm going to create a new project from scratch. You can see here I've already practiced this before by saying simple contact form 1. If something goes terribly wrong in this project, I can always go back to this one. So I'll try to do it live for you guys. So we'll call this simple contact form 2. I don't need Google Analytics for this project. I'll try to keep it simple for everyone. So while we're creating the project, there's one more step we need if you are using Firebase, which is Npm Install Firebase. I've already done that because it takes a few minutes. So I've already done that. So while this thing is creating, I'm going to go back to my app. And now I can write stuff in this script size. So I don't need name here anymore, actually, because I'm not going to pass this as a prop. So let me get rid of this props declaration. And instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start defining my Firebase parameters. Okay, so let's go to Firebase 2. Oh my God. All right, so I created a new project here, simple contact form 2. I'm on the Spark plan, which means I am free. So this is probably the plan that everyone wants to be on. If you upgrade to Blaze, it's still cheap. It doesn't charge you right away, but it gives you access to a few more things. I think the coolest thing it gives you access to is the ML kit. We won't do any ML stuff here. I'm sorry, guys. Today we'll just focus on a simple database. So let me click over to database. Here, I'll try to make my screen bigger. So I'll just create a simple Cloud Firestore instance. I'll start in test mode. What test mode means is that by default, anyone can read or write to it. This is not secure for production, but it will help us from having to log in. If I do production mode, I'll have to actually log in, and there have to be some permissions. So for location, because I'm currently in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam, I think the closest is Asia South 1. So it takes just a moment to create the Firestore. And the two features that we'll be using are Firestore and Firebase Hosting. Now, while this is setting up, I like to multitask, if you can tell. You also need to install something called Firebase Tools. So the way to install this, I've already installed on my computer, is just do npm install -g Firebase Tools, like so. Once you've done that, what you should do is, so this is our application. Sorry, let me log out of my instance. Okay, so you should always log in. First, you guys, I'm sorry, I'm trying to go through all the steps that you might go through. So yes, I can let you check. So I'll ask you to log in. I'll hit here. I'll allow it to access my Google account. I get an error here. I don't know if anyone else there is on a Chromebook. I'm actually on a Pixelbook, so I have to do a little bit. My local host doesn't work just right. Okay, so once you're logged in, I think I'm the only one who has to change that URL. I'm logged in here. So now, in the meantime, okay, this is done. So database is done, but now I need to set it up. So the way I want to go is I want to go to project settings here, and I'm going to be building a web app. So that's what this third icon stands for. And here, let me check back and see if there's any questions or chats. Nope, nothing. Okay, so I call this simple contact form. I'll also set up Firebase Hosting. So what Firebase Hosting is, it's like Netlify or something where I can actually deploy my app on. So ignore these things. I actually don't need to do these script steps because I'm going to be using the npm library. So this is a step I already told you to do, which is npm install -g Firebase Tools. And the next step I'll have to do is here, Firebase init. So I'll go back to my console. I'll type Firebase init, and I'm going to install. I don't want to do any of these things other than hosting for now. All right, whoops. So I'll space enter, I'll use an existing project, and I'll do simple contact form 2. I want to use public, yes, no. This is kind of important. I don't want to overwrite my index.html because my svelte has a build output. All right, so now I'm here. Just as a test, I can now actually do Firebase deploy. And this will take just a second, but what this is going to do is this is going to actually deploy whatever's in my static directory to the internet. It's not going to be the correct thing I want yet, but let's see. Let's see what we get. And this is something you guys can all try in your app. So we actually get our app. I'll drop that in chat. So we actually do see the app here. It doesn't do anything yet, but at least we've actually deployed it. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so far with Firebase, just to recap, we've created a new project, we've deployed some basic HTML, and we have some database. But we haven't actually done any sort of smart writes to the database. What I want this app to do is, obviously, if people fill in the form, I would like to save it to my database. So I have some record of them signing up for my new class or new product, my quick contact form. So now I'm going to jump back to Svelte's world and show you how in Svelte we can quickly and easily save a couple of these values. So first thing we need to do is we need to save values. If anyone's used Vue, it'll be very easy to comprehend. Let's say we'll have name. I'm going to initialize these to null just so I can see the placeholder text. Phone equals null. What other fields were there? Name, email, phone, website, and message. And in Svelte, the easy thing to do is you can just create a bind declaration on each thing. So I can say bind value equals name, like so. By the way, ignore a couple of these errors, these warnings. So these warnings are created by A11Y accessibility. So tab index being a positive number is actually a problem for people with screen readers, for blind people. Also, autofocus confuses them. In general, yeah, accessibility things are important, but they won't break our app for today. So I'm going to build bind value name, bind value, I can type bind value equals email. Let's see, bind value equals phone. I wish I had chosen a shorter form. Bind value equals URL. And bind value equals message. So what that's going to do is every time I type, it's going to keep a two-way binding between the input and the variables I declared at the top. And the last thing I need to do is I need to actually create an action for this. So I'm going to do on submit equals submit form. So this binds an event handler to this form. When it's submitted, things will happen. It's complaining here because submit form is not defined. Thank you very much, Svelte. I'll go here. I'll say const submit form equals. I'll make an async function for now. And what do I do here? Well, now this is the point where I'd want to write to Firebase. Well, so how do I do that? Okay, so it's not too bad. Up at the top, I'll do one step, which is, sorry, my formatting is getting all over the place. One thing I've noticed is actually this auto formatter doesn't work well with that URL. Okay. So we'll do import Firebase from Firebase/app. And the way Firebase library is set up, you have to import each feature individually. I'm only going to be using Firestore, so I'll do that. If we were using auth, we'd have to import Firebase/auth and things like that. Now, the most important thing is we need to, well, here, I'll do that at the bottom. Const Firebase Config. So we need to instantiate our Firebase to know to point to the right database. And the way we do that here is back to project settings. and here. So these Firebase snippets, what we want is a config string. So this has all the information for our Firebase kind of database. Let's copy that, and I'll paste that in. I don't like these tabs. Okay, so this is our Firebase config, and the way that we instantiate our database is pretty simple. We do firebase.initialize app, Firebase config. And once we initialize our app, we now have access to a variable called tb, which is firebase.firestore. And now subsequent actions that we take to like write to the DB or read from the DB, this application will be read only, or sorry, write only. So it's actually a little bit simpler. So we'll just write to this DB object. And that's what submit form will do. So what we're going to do is we're going to say let response equals wait. I'll just write in the wait format. I'll call it form submissions or something. So I'll create a collection called form submissions, and I'll add a document to it. And this document, we'll just keep it very simple. It'll be just using the ES6 destructuring. What's the other message, right? And I'll say like if rest. I mean, there's ways to check for errors. I should catch an error or something, but for now, I'll just kind of say alert. Yay. Okay, with that, we should be able to just simply write to Firebase that simply. All we did was we set up our Firebase config by going to our project and getting our special like API keys and stuff. We initialize our app, and then every time we want to write to it, there's different kind of commands, right? If you're interested, add data to Cloud Firestore. This is all the different ways. This page will show you all the different ways to write to Cloud Firestore. The most common way to set, what we did was called add. That's down here somewhere. So what add, the difference is that add creates you an ID, and I'll show you what that means in just a second. So if I reload this, oops, I need to do npm run dev. So I'm going to run the application and try to, right, so if I go back here, I want to open this database tab. The cool thing, I don't know if this is too basic for most people, but this thing will show you what's going on in the database in real time, or should at least. So I'm going to try to submit something from here. So Charles Lee, my email is, my phone number is 123-123-123, Carter School VN, and hello world. So I'll submit now. This is the moment of truth. A little suspense here. Okay. I wonder if that worked. I forgot to do one thing actually. Default. There's actually a shortcut for this installed too. But let's see if that went on. I think it probably didn't. Okay, so I'll type one more time. Hello again. So now the suspense. Okay, that didn't work. What did I do wrong here? So this is where you get to watch me debug and read real time. Async key. Should have worked. On submit, yeah. Form on submit. Okay, let me debug this real quick. So we just need to make sure this is working. I'm going to be tired of writing this thing. So I have a keyboard shortcut for that. But Oh, okay. So it did go through that time. I think I had to reload. Okay, so it should have written to here. I don't know what's going to happen. Okay, so we have a form submissions collection. I've written to it twice. I don't know what happened. I think I had to reload or something. Okay, so the 123 message went through, and whatever this is. Okay, I submitted twice for some reason. I think I may have pressed the button twice. Let's just say I did. Okay, so but like this is the main part. What I've written through is that now this form exists. Let me just do a quick deploy of this now. So now our form works. We have some errors that or warnings we'll fix. I don't actually have to get at this, but that's okay. So I'll do npm run build. This is kind of just felt bundling process. This is the production build. And after this runs, I'll do Firebase deploy. And then I should be able to load my form on the internet and deploy. And that's all it takes to deploy a simple contact form. It only took a few minutes, and the coolest thing is I control every aspect of this form, and it doesn't cost me anything. So Firebase will be free for a really long time until I have a lot of people using that database. I forget the exact numbers. There's some, how much is it? So I can use it for, right, let's see the details. So the Spark plan, I can do on Firestore 1 gigabyte total. So given the fact that my submissions are very, very small, that's going to last me a pretty long time, and 50,000 reads a day. 20,000 writes a day. So as long as 20,000 people, more than 20,000 people aren't submitting forms to me, I'll be okay for now. Now, let me just double check it's worked on the internet. So great, Charles Internet. This is coming from the real internet. Hello, there's my debug, and this is also right. Normally in Svelte, you can actually do if statements, but I create some states. If anyone's used Reactor View, they'll be familiar with the idea that I have a variables like if form submitted, then show something other than the form. But let's go back to our database here and just double check that went through. And I should see a new form submission here. Great, so now I have the actual thing. So for many businesses, maybe this is enough. Maybe I can just tell my salespeople or someone, my marketing person, to look at this browser. It's not the best browser in the world, but it's kind of okay. But what I really want to do here now is do a couple of things. I might want to email somebody, or I might want to actually fire some sort of Slack notification, or I might want to do something else altogether. And that's where the next part of this talk is. It's about the functions. So let me click on the Functions tab and show you what we can do. So let's get started. So we've installed the Firebase tools already. And let's look at some example functions. Wait, that's not what I want. Okay, getting started, guys, what I wanted. Sorry. So a couple of things we want to do is we want to do trigger functions. The general thing that I'd want is whenever someone writes to the database, I'd actually want to trigger like the Slack or email or notification type thing. So generally speaking, our database is very simple, where I only have a create. So when I have a new create thing, I'd want to create a new function. So let's see. So actually, let me go back to Okay, so we want to create a new function here. So let's create new. So we want to listen to all of these collections. So what we're going to do is we're going to create, let's make this. So I'm going to go to the guide to write our first functions. So we have our project here. And then we need to do Firebase init functions. So I don't know how many people know TypeScript out there. I'm actually not one of them. We can do ESLint, thank you. So what's going to happen is there's going to be a new directory created called functions. It's going to take a minute to install. I apologize. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a function here. It's called So what we're going to do is we're going to define a function trigger which is on create. Loading. Duck, you saying something? Okay, so I'm going to talk for just a second. Let me show you the function I created for. That's probably easier. So for one of like host projects, so we actually use a kind of small tools. You have lots of different types of projects. Let me actually jump to one in particular. So this is one of our application forms, one of our programs. It's for the DevC Innovation Challenge program. And most of these were written by yours truly. So these are the wrong functions, actually, I think. Sorry, I'm a little confused at this moment. There are two different types of functions in Firebase, by the way, and this is one of the more confusing things about Firebase is it's tightly integrated with Google Cloud Platform, but in kind of a confusing way. So sometimes you'll see things that you can do in Google Cloud Platform. So I've actually created these functions in GCP, but I can see them in Firebase console. They're not actually Firebase created ones. So the ones I want, I think, are here. Yeah. So these are the Cloud Firestore ones, and you can see here. So when you see this, but then you can see actually, how do I see the actual function? No, I can't actually see. So you can see by the trigger that this is a Cloud Firestore function. How do I? Let me double check real quick. I can't actually see the functions here. It looks like. Yeah, actually, sorry. So I can't show you the functions here, so I'll have to create them. So you can't, in the Google Cloud Platform console, you can actually see the functions and see how you use them. So actually going here pops up in the console.cloud.google.com platform. Sorry, sometimes I get confused with these things. Okay, so actually I do have. Okay. All right, so this is another way to do it actually. So sorry, sometimes the one thing about writing software is that you forget how you've done things. So I was going to do it kind of the basic way, but another way to do it is actually, let me actually just pop up in Google Platform and show you how these things work together. So, sorry, I have two users here. So every Firebase project is also a Google Platform project. And so if I open my dashboard, so I created this new project called Simple Contact Forms. I should actually do that project here. So although I created this in Firebase, I can also access the same project from Google Cloud Platform. In a way, I kind of view Firebase as a subset of Google Cloud Platform. If you want a little bit more power, you can always open this dashboard. So here I can jump to Cloud Functions. So this is an alternative to doing the kind of the Firebase deploy thing. And you have to enable billing to run functions, by the way. Oh, okay. I don't want to, sorry. Okay, I might have to switch, because I don't want to actually share my credit card information on video chat. Let me just jump back to the other actual platform. Okay, so I actually won't walk through that, how to create. I'll walk you through a pre-built function and show you how to build it, rather than building it right now. Sorry, I didn't have the second half done. So the way that you create a function, and you can create this just from Google Cloud Platform as well. So I'll walk you through how you would do it, if my internet will load. Okay. All right, so we could create function from here. So in Google Cloud Platform, you can actually create functions from the web console, which is both good and bad. It's kind of bad because I find it a little bit hard to write in this thing, as you can see. But what you can do is you can call whatever you want, but your trigger here can be here. So you have different types of triggers. And the one that we would use for this project would be Cloud Firestore Beta here. And you can choose event type. So for us, it would be create. So whenever a new thing is created, we'd want to run this function. We don't need to do a document path because any new document creation for us will be a new form submission. So you can do two things. I haven't actually gotten this cloud source repository thing to work, but in theory, you should be able to link it to Git. I can't get that to work. So I usually actually just do inline editor here. It's not great. You can write in two languages, Node or Python. I can do Go. Okay, so Node, Python, or Go. I think Node is the easiest. And you can already see what happens here. So when you're triggered, you get two kind of arguments. And the one you actually want is the event, for the most part. I'll show you how one of the existing functions works here. So this is a create application. So when a person has created an application on Coder School's website, for now, you can see how that's what happens there. So there's a maximize button here. So this is kind of source code that runs for Coder School VM. So we have a Slack URL. So we get a Slack every time someone applies for a class on our website. And we do have a document path here. So anytime someone creates a new application, that's where our Coder School documents are stored. You create, we call it snap or event. Snap is the data. So you get the data here. And so what we do is we just post to our Slack URL that something's happened. And so this is our function that gets triggered every time on write. I believe this one was. So you can write some simple JavaScript code to write things. So we have this one, which is a trigger to create a Slack deploy. There's other things you can do as well. So I also have, you can easily hook up Mailgun to send emails. And so we also have that working in another, I believe in a different function here. You can see, oh, I hope that didn't. Let me not share the code for that because I think our keys are in that. But yes, we also have like a user finish, which will send an email using our Mailgun API. And that's also triggered here. So you can see like various things happen that make it really easy to connect all the different pieces together. So in conclusion, sorry I didn't walk through that last part, but you can create a form very easily in just a few moments using a simple HTML piece. You can deploy it and not have to worry about DevOps or deployment or speed. And once you've built the basic, sorry, let me find more. Once you've built the basic form, you don't do any more processing on the server. So you can do all sorts of things from Google Cloud Platform or from Firebase directly. There's two different ways to deploy. You can write a Firebase function in the repository, in the directory, and do Firebase deploy, or you can open the inline editor in Google Cloud Platform. But now you can do all your code serverlessly and add various things to these forms, like email or Slack or whatever you want. What we've done for at Coder School is we've done something like a Slack thing. We also have kind of various things to track how far people go. So our application form has many steps, and in each step we will fire an event back to a server, so we kind of know what stage people are on, by the way. So we know the difference between people starting application and finishing application, things like that. But you can handle all this stuff serverlessly, which is very nice, and especially, like I said, for someone like me who doesn't have a ton of time to maintain systems, it's very convenient. Okay, with that was kind of all I had planned for today. Oh, we lost it because it's a new host. Okay, so I can share the code for this now. So let me do that real quickly. It's not very amazing, but let me just actually let me just yeah, okay. First commit. I'll create a new GitHub project very quickly. And I'll push it. I'll drop the source code in the chat. But yeah, that's basically all I have. I think we lost it, so is it 2? Yes, let's add Dick. GDG webinar, Mr. David GDG webinar. Okay, if not, then that's all I have. Let me actually just push this real quick. Okay, so the repository for the code will be found here. And I have about 10 minutes left on the thing, which is actually not too bad. I'll end early unless there's any questions from people. So if you have a question, you can either raise your hand or you can drop me a chat here. How do I stop share? Okay, so it looks like there's no questions, which is very normal for this type of scenario. Okay, with that then, well then, thank you for attending this simple webinar on how to create an easy contact form using Firebase and Svelte, the new hipster JavaScript front end. There's obviously more things you can do with both scenarios. Obviously, creating a simple contact form with JavaScript makes no sense, but unless we add things like validation and other features that a JavaScript framework would be useful for. Also on the Firebase side, we would do more later with creating cloud functions to hook up additional functionality. So things like Slack or email. Later we could do more too. I mean, there's like the ML kit, we could detect what language things are being submitted. We could detect if it's Vietnamese or English, things like that as well. But all that stuff is kind of given to you as part of the Firebase ecosystem. But to me, the thing that's most exciting is that you can actually deploy it and kind of forget about it. So that's one reason we use Firebase extensively at Coder School. Okay, thank you guys for your time. Hope you enjoy the rest of your Saturday. If you have any questions, you can always email me. Drop my email in Slack there, saying coderschool.vn. So you feel free to email me any questions. The GitHub repository is also shown above. And that's all. Oh, we have something else from Mr. 2. Miss 2. Okay, I give it to that person. You're on mute. I don't know if you want to be on mute. Okay. Stu, do you want to be on mute? Do you want to unmute yourself so you can explain the slides you're about to go through? I can't force them to mute you.
Thanks, Charles. Hey, Thư, it's your turn. You want to share with us about the data and machine learning study jam from GDG?
Hi, xin chào các bạn ạ. Hello. Dạ. Xin chào các bạn. Mình sẽ đại diện cho GDG Lab Việt Nam giới thiệu các bạn một event sắp tới của chúng mình là event về data và machine learning. Thì event này sẽ bắt đầu khởi động vào ngày 21 tháng 3. Các bạn đăng ký vào đường link bên dưới cho mình nha. Thì khi các bạn đăng ký, chúng mình sẽ gửi thông tin đến các bạn vào email. Nội dung là có 2 phần. Khi mà các bạn đăng ký tham gia event sẽ có 2 phần. Một là các bạn đăng ký hoàn thành trên Quizlet. Thì đây là danh sách những cái quiz mà chúng mình yêu cầu các bạn hoàn thành. Khi mà các bạn hoàn thành 3 quiz thì các bạn sẽ được một phần quà từ GDG Lab Việt Nam. Và còn cách thứ hai là các bạn tham gia hoàn thành một cái khóa trên Coursera về machine learning. Thì khi mà các bạn tham gia cái khóa về Coursera thì tụi mình sẽ có 4 buổi về webinar để hướng dẫn các bạn hoàn thành trong vòng 1 tháng nha. Thì mỗi tuần tụi mình sẽ có một buổi webinar hướng dẫn các bạn có thể hoàn thành nhanh nhất. Và khi mà các bạn hoàn thành được khóa trên Coursera thì tụi mình cũng sẽ gửi tới các bạn một phần quà. Thì các bạn nhớ đăng ký giùm mình trên cái đường link này nha. Đây chính là cái đường link đăng ký nè. Khi mà các bạn đăng ký thì tụi mình sẽ gửi thông tin sớm nhất đến cho các bạn nha. Và ngày bắt đầu event về data và machine learning sẽ bắt đầu vào ngày 21 tháng 3. Rồi, xin cảm ơn các bạn ạ. Và các bạn nhớ đón xem buổi webinar thứ 3 vào 16 giờ sắp tới của anh Khánh sẽ nói về machine learning. Xin chào các bạn ạ.